He was 17.
Class president, honor roll, varsity basketball star. The kind of kid that made teachers proud and neighbors feel safe. But on November 3rd, 2021, everything changed. Sound of distant police sirens. Inside a quiet suburban home in Westfield, Indiana, police discovered a body in the basement, face pale, eyes wide open, a kitchen knife buried in her chest, wrapped in duct tape.
Lying beneath her brother's gym bag.
Her name was Emily Granger, and the person who called 911, her older brother, Caleb. The call came in at 6:17 p.m. Caleb's voice steady, too steady. I just got home. My sister's not breathing. There's blood. But something didn't add up. There were no signs of forced entry, no signs of a struggle, except one, a shattered picture frame with a photo of Emily and Caleb. At the state fair just 2 summers ago, they were smiling. Now, one was dead, and the other was lying. Emily Granger was 16, a rising artist, straight-A student. She loved photography and catching people when they thought no one was watching. Her last photo submission was called Shadows of the Suburbs. One photo stood out. It showed her brother standing in the garage, holding something in a cloth. That photo was time-stamped. One day before she died. At first, no one believed it. Caleb? A killer? Impossible. His parents defended him. Friends called him sweet, gentle, protective. But Emily's best friend, Mia, had a different story. She turned in a string of texts, sent just days before Emily's death. Something's off with Caleb lately. He's watching me sleep. If anything happens, check the garage. It was the first red flag, and there were more to come. The doorbell camera from the neighbor's house, it caught Caleb running out of the house at 4:05 p.m. No shoes, no phone, something bundled in cloth in his hands. 15 minutes later, he came back, empty-handed. At 6:17, he made the call, but by then, Emily had been dead for over an hour.
Narrator, investigative, precise.
Police combed the woods behind Westfield Elementary School. They found a shallow hole. Inside, a bloodied kitchen knife. It matched Emily's wound, and it had Caleb's fingerprints. That was the moment everything shifted. From accident to premeditated murder. But why? Why would Caleb kill his own sister? The answer was buried in his journal. Police found it tucked beneath his mattress. Pages of angry scrawl, talk of paranoia, obsession, and fear. She's watching me, he wrote. She knows too much. If she tells them, I'm done. What Emily knew remains a mystery, but the fear in her voice would soon be heard. Emily recorded whisper. I think Caleb's losing it. I'm scared. If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident. That was recorded the night before she died. She never sent it. Caleb was arrested 4 days after Emily's murder, charged with first-degree murder, no bail. In court, he showed no emotion. The jury watched as texts, photos, and journal entries painted a chilling portrait, not of a troubled teen, but of a calculated killer. They found him guilty. He was sentenced to life without parole. The Granger family never returned to that house. Emily's room was left untouched for months. Fairy lights still hanging, her camera still on the desk. Inside her drawer, a final journal entry. If something happens, it was him. She saw it coming. She tried to warn someone, but no one believed her. Not in time. Then whisper. But this isn't the end, because in prison, Caleb started talking. Not to his parents, not to his lawyer,
but to a reporter. And what he said?
Could change everything. Caleb Granger was locked away, 17 years old, tried as an adult, convicted, sentenced to life without parole to the world.
Justice had been served.
But inside Iron Ridge Correctional Facility, Caleb wasn't silent. He was writing, drawing, recording, and one day, he asked to speak to someone, not a lawyer, not his family, but a reporter. Her name was Dana Carter, a local journalist known for her work on juvenile justice. She'd covered Caleb's trial, watched every moment from the gallery. She remembered the blank stare, the emotionless testimony, and when the letter came to her desk, signed Caleb James Granger, the first interview happened on a cold February morning. Fluorescent lights humming, thick glass between them, a static-filled phone line in their hands. Caleb sat down. His hair was longer now, his eyes colder. And then, he said, "They never asked why I did it. They just wanted to prove that I did." For the next 43 minutes, Caleb spoke. But not about Emily, not directly. Instead, he talked about watchers. People watching me through the walls. Voices in the garage. Shadows that followed me to school. Dana thought it was a deflection. But then, he slid something under the glass. A folded piece of notebook paper. Inside was a drawing. It showed a woman, tall, eyes scratched out, standing behind a girl that looked exactly like Emily. In the corner of the page, a date. November 2nd, 2021, the day before she died. Narrator, escalating tension. Dana asked him, "Is that supposed to be your sister?" Caleb smiled, not like a teenager, but like someone who'd seen something no one else could. "She wasn't who you think she was," he whispered. "She knew things nobody else could have known." Dana left that day with more questions than answers. She wanted to believe it was the mind of a broken teen, a delusion, a defense, but something about his calmness, his precision, his eerie certainty made her dig deeper. And that's when she found the tapes. Buried in evidence from the Granger home were old cassette tapes, labeled in Emily's handwriting. October 17th, garage 2 a.m. Caleb sleep-talking. One tape stood out. It was simply labeled, "The Night It Started." Dana played it in her apartment, alone. At 2:03 a.m., The first few seconds were silent. Then, heavy breathing, a creak, a whisper. "Why are you here?" The voice, unmistakably Caleb's. Another voice responds, software distorted. "Because she knows Caleb. She saw everything." Narrator, pause, then quiet voice. That was not Emily's voice, and it wasn't Caleb's either. Music grows, investigative. Narrator, intense, deliberate. Dana took the tape to a forensic audio specialist. They cleaned the sound, boosted the levels, isolated the voices, and the results. There were 3 distinct voices, 2 male, 1 female. But only 2 people were in that house, Emily and Caleb. So who was the third? Narrator, dark, unnerving. Dana brought the evidence to the Westfield police, but they dismissed it. Too little, too late. Teen fantasy. Still. Dana kept digging, and what she found next made her question everything. Music dips to a chilling quiet 3 months before the murder. A local girl had gone missing, 14 years old, same neighborhood, same school. Her name was Lily Jensen. She'd disappeared walking home from art class. The last person to see her? Emily Granger. Police had ruled Lily's disappearance as a runaway, but Emily? She'd written a letter to the school counselor, saying she believed something bad had happened, that someone was covering it up. She claimed she'd seen Caleb in the woods, near where Lily's backpack was later found. The letter was never followed up, until now. Dana requested access to old case files, interviewed neighbors, teachers, Emily's art mentor. She learned something deeply unsettling. Emily had been painting the same image, over and over again. A girl with no face, standing in the trees, watching, and each painting was dated. Closer and closer to November 3rd. What if Caleb didn't act alone? What if Emily saw something she wasn't supposed to? What if Lily Jensen's disappearance and Emily's murder were connected? And Caleb might not be the only one responsible, because just 1 week ago, Dana received a second letter. No return address, no name. Inside was a single photo, a photo of Caleb standing in the woods, and behind him, a silhouette, small, feminine, smiling. And the caption, written in black marker, "You're looking in the wrong direction." The photograph had been slid under Dana Carter's apartment door in the dead of night. No note, no warning, just a single grainy image of Caleb in the woods, sitting on a log. At first glance, it seemed harmless. Caleb looked younger, maybe 15, smiling awkwardly at the camera. But then, you saw it. Behind him, barely visible in the trees, a figure, female, standing still, watching. Her face was blurred, not by motion, but intentionally, as if someone had scratched it out. But her posture, her height, the braid trailing over her shoulder, it looked like Emily. Dana flipped the photo over. Scrawled on the back in jagged red ink were 6 chilling words. "You're looking in the wrong direction." The handwriting didn't match Caleb's. and he had no access to the outside world. So who sent it? She took it to a forensic contact who examined the ink and paper. It wasn't printed recently. The photo stock hadn't been manufactured in over a decade. But the chemical analysis confirmed it was developed just 3 months ago. The trail led Dana to the outskirts of town, to the abandoned Asheville Mental Rehabilitation Center. Officially condemned, unofficially, it had power running to it. Fresh footprints in the dirt near the back entrance. Someone had been living there, or using it, for something. She went alone. The front gate was rusted shut, but the side door had been pried open. Inside, the air was stale, damp, and filled with the scent of mildew and something metallic. Old blood, maybe. The walls were lined with peeling paint and broken beds, long forgotten by the world. But in the children's wing, one room was different. Cleaned, lived in. On the wall, drawings, dozens of them, taped carefully in a grid. Stick figures with dark X's over their eyes. A small boy, a girl, a man, all labeled. One was labeled Caleb, another Dad, and one, scratched out entirely, was labeled simply